So now that you've learned how to do event-driven programming using both the mouse listener interface and the action listener interface, we are now ready to start project number 7. Before you actually start this project, though, you should have typed in and got running the code for the mouse click program and also the ball bounce with timer program. So our objective today is just to be making modifications to existing working codes rather than creating ones all by yourself from scratch. For the mouse click program, they want you to create a variable called count that's going to act as a counter for how many times that the mouse button has been clicked and start its value off at 0. Every time that the mouse button is pressed, you should be incrementing that count variable by 1. And you're going to want to use modulus division and some kind of extended branching situation, whether that's a switch operator or if, else structure. And using the modulus division, if the remainder is 0, you want to paint with black, and you want it to be centered at the location of the mouse click. If the remainder is 1, you want it to be right justified. That means the right edge of the ball will line up with where the mouse was clicked. If the remainder is 2, it's going to be bottom justified. If the remainder is 3, it's going to be left justified. If the remainder is 4, it's going to be top justified. And you're also going to be changing the colors according to the scheme. So let me show you exactly what this looks like. This is my version of that new mouse click. Remember, when you run an applet, you're not running a main, you're running the applet itself. And it's going to ask you how big you want your window to be. 500 by 500 is fine. So again, this program is sitting here waiting for me to do something. When I push my mouse button, it just painted a green circle that is right justified. That means the right edge of the ball lines up with where the mouse was clicked. Now when I hit it again, the remainder is going to be 2. It's going to paint with blue and be bottom justified. So the bottom lines up with where I clicked. The third time I hit this, it's going to paint with red, and it's going to be left justified. The fourth time I hit this, it's going to paint with orange and be top justified. And then the fifth time, the remainder is going to go back to being 0, and it'll paint with black and be centered. So any place where I start to click, it's going to do green first, then blue, then red, then orange, then black. So it makes kind of a cool design. So that's the new mouse click. For the modification that you're making to the ball bounce class, instead of just drawing one ball and updating its position and erasing the old ball and checking for hit balls, you're actually going to be doing this with 2 different balls. So the first ball's starting position is going to be 125, 175. It's going to have X velocity and Y velocity both of 1. The second ball is going to be painting with blue and have a location starting at 250, 100, have an X velocity of 3 and a Y velocity of 5. Now the tricky part about the second ball is that it's only going to move its position every other firing of the timer. So because you can't move your ball a fractional amount of pixels, so in other words, you can't move 2.5 pixels, I'm moving 5 pixels every other time that the timer fires. Now, what's tricky about this, I'm going to run it for you, and it looks simple enough. So what you're going to see is the red ball is our normal ball moving with one pixel in the X and Y direction every firing of the thing, checking for hits with balls. The blue ball is moving only every other firing of the timer, 3 pixels in the X direction, 5 pixels in the Y direction. You don't have to worry about what happens when the balls hit each other. There's no collisions. We don't have to worry about them bouncing off of each other or anything like that. They're just going to overlap just like that. But one thing I want to tell you that is going to be tricky about the second ball is when you hit a wall, when you've gone outside the walls and you're trying to negate either the X or the Y velocity, if you're only moving the ball every other firing, that means you're going to be outside the walls for 2 iterations. And if you double negate something, it is going to go back to being the way it was. So one of the tricky things about working with the second ball here is you have to figure out a way to get it to only negate once when you're hitting one of the walls. If you negate twice, what you're going to see happen here is you're going to see that blue ball just exit your screen and continue to keep going in the same direction. So be careful with that as you're coding this part of the program. All right, good luck coding project number 7.